Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks, college sports, football huddle. Good to have you with us here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of those places you can find us, and also we're live on the McGrath Podcast and Network. Apologies to Brian as I jumped out a little bit quick. He was, I think, plugging the show, and we appreciate that so much, Brian, for that help as well. Just got off the Unprofessional Professional Sports Show. I wanted to say a quick shout out to all the groups that do support us and allow us to share this show and all my shows. Some of our favorites always scrolling at the bottom of the screen. John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings from America's Pastime, Flo and Can from the Bottom Line Sports Podcast. Let's Talk Sports, where Flo and Can do their main podcast. Still a good friend of this show, Dan Harris, thumbs up. Dan did a great job putting that together. Tanner D doing a good job of continuing, and we continue to be good friends over there. And Ken Krause over at Golf Bud Sports Ball Shorts. And there's many, many, many others. Lots to talk about tonight, guys. Not the least of which is obviously Monday night's college football championship game. Miami loses that game at 26. I'm sorry, 20. What was it? 27-21? Jesus, now I don't even know. Let's take a quick look. We lose the game by 6 points. I got to tell you, Miami fought hard, played hard. Too many third down conversions by Indiana. Mendoza, he showed me a lot of moxie. I'm not so sure that this kid is ready to contribute day one in the NFL. But as far as college quarterback, great player. Converted a couple of big third downs with the help of his number one receiver. And that I got to tell you that fourth down and 5 from the 7-yard line, I think, in the third quarter or fourth quarter, I guess, when they were going to kick a field goal, Signetti calls timeout, and they decide to run the ball in with a design quarterback draw. Just a great call and a gutsy freaking call, man. I mean, nobody makes that call. Great job and a great game. Look at Miami kept staying in the game. They kept punching, and they just could not keep Indiana off the scoreboard. This team played with a lot of both teams played with a lot of moxie. Indiana really kept their cool and their head. Horrible missed targeting call on Jacoby Thomas early in this game. I want to say late first quarter, maybe it was early second quarter. I don't remember. But just a horrible non-targeting call. I'm going to be totally non-biased here. I mean, you can't just lower your helmet, hit the guy up under the freaking chin strap and split his lip, and you don't even get so much as a unsportsmanlike call. He should have been called for targeting and tossed out of the game. And Miami was already paying for targeting from the past game when Lucas did not start this game. He had to miss the first half for being tossed and targeting in the Ole Miss game. And that hurt Miami in the first half badly, as far as I am concerned. You saw the difference in that Miami defense, I think, when he was back in the second half. IU scored more points in the second half, but I thought the Miami defense played pretty well overall. And again, gutsy call by Curt Cignetti. Nice job by Mendoza, not just getting the first down, but getting into the end zone on that play. He converted, like I said, 3 huge third downs to, I want to say, Becker, if I'm not mistaken. Not great passes, but, the Miami defense, they were thrown behind the guy and you complete them. That's all you do. So great job. I wasn't convinced watching this game that Fernando Mendoza is going to be a day one difference maker in the NFL. Maybe he will be at one point. I think he's a gamer and he's a classy kid. His family's a great story. Carson Beck is not going to be an impact player in the NFL. I can tell you that right now. And I think Indiana is probably, it's a great story. If I'm going to lose this game, I want to lose to Indiana. Because this is maybe the biggest story in the history of the NFL, in the history of college football, excuse me. That might sound like hyperbole, but you show me something that's a bigger turnaround or a bigger surprise than Curt Cignetti or anybody going to Indiana, the losingest program in the history of college football, and turning them into national championships in 2 years. I defy you to tell me a bigger story. Some of the stuff that went on after the game, Carson Beck not coming out to congratulate Mendoza or any of the Indiana Hoosiers. You looked at that. I think you should show good sportsmanship and do that. Am I going to get all up in arms about it? Probably not. I've seen Tom Brady do it many times in the NFL. In the heat of the moment, stuff happens. Fletcher takes a swing at Cobb at the end of the game. We still don't know why. Cobb claims in the Indiana papers, he claims he just went over to Fletcher to tell him, congratulate him on a good game, and Fletcher took a swing at him. I doubt it was that simple. But again, in the heat of the moment, stuff's going to happen. And I'll tell you what, I give kudos to Indiana for their composure when that flagrant targeting that was not called targeting happened on Mendoza in the second quarter, wherever it was. A lot of teams would have just started a big brawl right then and there, and they did not do it. They just kept their composure. Mendoza got up, barely phased, and continued to play well. So listen, kudos to Indiana. Classy organization, classy program, it appears, out of the cinders of time. And Curt Cignetti will forever be a legend in Indiana and across college football because of it. Tremendous job. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we can do tonight. We'll try to get into some the portal news and maybe a little bit of basketball. Some big portal news. The Darian Mensah situation between Duke and Miami. And before you all get up all in Miami's grill, don't forget this shit's happening. Oh, excuse me. This stuff's happening everywhere around college football. Teams are going to have to get much more tighter language in contracts. Mensah had said a few weeks ago he was going to return to Duke for around $8 million over 2 years, and then he decided to enter the portal. And the rumors are he's getting a package that's in the $10 million range from Miami. And I would doubt very much that doesn't come to fruition. And it's a huge move. Mensah's a really good player. But Duke did it to Tulane last year. So let's not get all up in arms about any of that nonsense. It's just, unfortunately, it's what we have to live with and deal with going forward in college sports. This is it. There's no loyalties. Good evening, Danny, by the way. Good evening to Paul out in Wisconsin. Good evening all to Rick. Special teams huge. That block was huge. Horrible. And again, I give Indiana credit, but my God, I can't remember who was on the edge there for Miami at the moment. I feel like it was a tight end. But he gave him a little Olay. He barely stopped him coming to the kicker. Huge play, obviously. And you don't know what's going to happen. If that doesn't happen, we have no idea how the game plays out from there. So I'm not going to tell you without that block, Miami wins the game. I'm not going to say that. It doesn't. That was a big play, obviously. But the 2 third down conversions, just as big. Without those, Miami's got a better shot. Not crazy about the play calling at the end for Miami. I mean, they throw the ball or try to get the ball to the end zone from, the 48 or so. With still 40-plus seconds left on the clock. Lots of time. I know there's no timeouts, but you got all kinds of time to work the ball over the middle. Don't forget the clock stops every first down. So not crazy about that play call, but, a little bit more air under that ball. Game could go the other way. But, again, if your aunt had different equipment, she'd be your uncle. Absolutely incredible story. I think this is the biggest story in the history of college football. I really do. And I'm happy for Indiana. I mean, listen, I'm not happy my team lost. I did bet them to win the national championship. I've talked about it. I had a futures bet on them. Would have paid a nice $1, but I also bet them to cover the spread, and they did cover the spread on Monday night. So we got, we had no money lost. But as a fan, it hurts to lose, obviously. It doesn't hurt the same way Pats were. Somebody asked me Sunday, and I don't know if I ever answered it. Am I a bigger Pats fan or a Hurricane fan? I'm a bigger Pats fan. I'm married into the Hurricanes. The Patriots are in me since I'm, a kid. First pro sports game I ever went to was a Patriot game. But I've had a grudging respect for this Miami program through the years, and through marriage, I've become a huge fan. Sometimes I wish they would comport themselves a little better, but it is what it is. And if you're going to lose, I'd rather lose to a team that is a great story. The epitome of class in my mind, this team and this organization, this program. And it's amazing, how well they traveled. I mean, that place, I felt, you guys can tell me what you think, but I think it was like 60-40 Indiana fans in that building, Miami's home building. And they had about 95-5 in the Peach Bowl, and I would say it was about 70-30 at the Rose Bowl. You guys come up with your own numbers, but that team travels like as well as any team I've ever seen as far as fandom. And the team was just, again, it's a team. How do you root against them unless you've got a rooting interest in the game? Who's going to say I hate Indiana? Well, here's the thing. What happens next year if Indiana comes back and runs it back and wins back-to-back? Very tough to do. I'm not saying they're going to do this, but I will tell you this much. I guarantee you that in 2002, there was a bunch of fans that were really happy when Tom Brady and the Patriots beat the Rams. And then 5 years later, we couldn't wait to root against the Patriots. Well, how long is it going to take for that to happen to Indiana? If they become a consistent power, how long is it going to take? Because there's a couple things that could happen next year, right? The traditional powers, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, could regain their stature, and others. I'm just mentioning those. Right? That's one path we could go. Another path we could go is teams that are close finally get over the top. The Miamis. I'm trying to think of some other. Texas gets back to the top. Or maybe that fits in category 1. I don't know. I don't really think they do. I think they fit in category 2 better. Oklahoma gets back over the top. Who else? Ole Miss. I mean, somebody just gets over the finish line. That's the second one. The third one is somebody comes out of nowhere, similar to what Indiana did this year. Think Missouri, Louisville, Iowa State. And the other one is Indiana continues to stay on top, and we turned into Indiana haters just like we do everybody else that succeeds in sports, because that's what we do. Great credit to Miami coach for getting his players out of there and not letting it escalate. I agree. Are you talking about I don't know, Rick, if you're talking about the aftermath of the game or the on the targeting call. In the aftermath of the game, that thing could have got ugly after the game. I don't know what Mark Fletcher was doing. I really don't know. Again, the only account we have from anybody is Cobb saying, I went over to just congratulate him on a good game. And Fletcher went off on him. I know I've read a lot about this kid and seen a lot about this kid. It seems like something would have had to set him off, but I could be wrong. Again, I don't know him personally. I don't know what was in his head. I just think it was, it's emotion of the moment. Hello, Michael Abrams. How are you? Sorry, it was a good game. Listen, what can you hope for? If you told me going into this game, again, all signs pointed to Indiana was a 7.5-point favorite. They had been blowing people out. And if you told me that they'd have the ball with 2 minutes left, a minute 40 something left with a chance to win the game, I would have been happy. If you told me I'd have the ball in the fourth quarter several times and made it a one-score game and had to stop them just like once. And they did finally stop him, and he kicked a field goal at the end, I guess. But they just couldn't get off the field on third down. They fought hard. They didn't quit. I mean, there were times where it felt like Indiana was going to hit the accelerator. You guys can tell me if you felt differently. But there was a couple times in that first half, early in the second half, it felt like that Indiana might hit the accelerator and things were going to get out of hand. And at one player, one way or the other, kind of kept that from happening. And I'm glad. I mean, Miami, I think played well for the most part. Again, a couple of mistakes you can't get over. Fletcher played a good game. Beck was okay, wasn't great. Malachi Toney was kept in check for the most part. He did have a couple of big plays in that fourth quarter. The Miami defense was all over Mendoza the entire game. The defense played great. The defense played lights out. Mendoza is great under pressure, I have to say. And he took a lot of big shots in that game. He's a big kid. We'll see how it equates going forward. Yes, Alberto Mendoza, the backup to his brother Fernando, has gone to Georgia Tech in the I'm not sure. I have no idea. If you say so, I agree. I have nothing to say. I haven't seen him play. Don't know if you have, Paul. I haven't read that much about the kid. If he was better than his brother now. I find it hard to believe, quite frankly, Paul. And again, if you know something I don't know, then God bless you. But if he was going to be as good as Fernando in 2 years, why would Indiana let him walk away? And I don't know, as we sit here right now, what Indiana's playing as a quarterback, by the way. Well, we'll find out. Those teams you just mentioned don't have Mark Cuban adding to their pockets. Well, that's fair. So I guess your vote, Danny, is that we're going to continue to see Indiana win, and we're all going to hate them in 2 years for no reason other than they're good at what everybody else is doing. And by the way, everybody's got benefactors. Here's the thing, and Indiana, by the way, has no. This is the thing. Even before Kirk Cignetti got there, they've got the facilities. They had money. They just didn't use it correctly, and Kirk Cignetti has got them on the right path. When it comes to getting money from guys like Mark Cuban, I can tell you right now that there's not a program in the country that has as much money flowing into it as the University of Miami, to all the programs, not just football. So you got to use it correctly as well. So again, I guarantee you that all of the teams I mentioned have got money to spend if they want it, because everybody's got guys with a lot of money. Maybe Indiana's got one and Miami's got 100, but these conglomerates, these consortiums, if you will, NIL consortiums, you know, they're what drives college football now. Indiana's not going to outspend everybody. If Georgia decides to spend money, they're going to have plenty to spend. Same with Alabama. Miami already spends it. Ole Miss already spends it. LSU obviously has money. So it's not all about the money. It's how you use it. Who would have thought that the Hoosiers would become a football powerhouse? Nobody. I mean, I think we all kind of got a good laugh out of Kirk Cignetti's, and I joke about it all the time, but it proved to be right when he sat there in his introductory press conference and said, what he was asked why he thought he turned Indiana around when they were losing his program in the history of college football. He said, because I win. Google me. It's a funny line. Also happens to be true. Great coach. Money doesn't always guarantee you win a championship as a quack. But actually, that's a great point, Danny, because money, again, I don't think money is a differentiating factor when we're talking the top of college football. Everybody's got money. It's what you do with it. Danny's just saying. I stole your just saying this afternoon in a conversation with Paul. I apologize. Rick Sherlock, did you hear? They didn't quit. Yeah, I didn't say it for Rick's benefit, by the way. Where'd you see him play? God bless you then. He's damn good. Good. Where'd you see him play? I'm curious because I just like to know where I can go see some film. Indiana brought in former TCU quarterback Josh Hoover in the transfer portal. Okay. Well, listen, I mean, Indiana's done very well. Here's the thing. It wasn't just, it was a transfer portal because Cignetti brought a bunch of guys who are significant contributors to this team along with him from James Madison. He got Mendoza into this team when Miami was all in on him in the offseason and couldn't close the deal, partly because they didn't give him the time of day when he was coming out of high school and he was looking to go to Miami. If I understand, his mother had a lot to do with that. But other than the quarterback, there's not a bunch of 4- and 5-star athletes on that team. They're just a really good team. And it remains to be seen whether Cignetti can continue to do that. We've seen programs in basketball and in football that have recruited that way. Villanova and why is their ex-coach? Wright, Jay Wright, did that in basketball better than anybody. He didn't bring in a lot of 5-star guys. He brought in guys that would stay there and play together for 3 or 4 years and gel as a team. And he won national championships doing just that. And we'll see. This might be, Indiana had a lot of guys back from last year, but he really improved at the quarterback position, and he really improved in the trenches. And that's why this team was so much better this year than it was last year, for sure. I think I missed some of this. Danny, what do you got here, Danny? The money in the NIL portal as these amateur status players are they are no more. Yeah, I've said that before the season ever started. I want to say I said it last year, or at least at the end of last season when the rulings came down with the House ruling against Tennessee and the NCAA and having to play all these guys in arrears and, putting real, doing away with the illusion that this was all a marketing endeavor, right? Name, image, and likeness. We're just going to pay kids to put their face up on a bulletin board or a billboard or on a side of a bus, or they were going to do a commercial for my gas station. It's pay for play. It always was pay for play. And the illusion has now been totally removed. And I said this before. The House ruling ever came down. That this NIL, you can remember, and Danny, you may not have been here at the time, quite frankly, but Rick will remember the arguments I used to have with the Mad New Yorker about the fact that, NIL was not a marketing endeavor. It was pay for play. I said that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when it first came into play. And, Carlos never bought that. He foolishly thought this was all about marketing. It never was. It was always pay for play. And the amateur status of these kids, we have guys now coming back to play in the NBA. They're drafted to the NBA, and they're coming back to school. There's a kid at Baylor who was drafted into the NBA 2 years ago. The NBA, the college basketball, brings in kids who play professionally in Europe. The illusion of amateurism has been gone for a long time. And I know your question is somewhat I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I know you know that, Danny. But a lot of people have kind of fooled themselves into thinking we're still watching amateur athletes. We are not. We're watching a professional league. And it's only a matter of time. All the pomp and circumstance of Saturday still is exciting. The energy in the building. You still have bands. You still have student bodies at games, and you still feel that electricity, that energy. So it doesn't feel like Sunday, like a professional league. At some point, it's going to be. It's going to feel that way. And the question is going to be, am I going to care anymore? When it becomes a professional league and competing against professional leagues, other professional leagues, and it loses the reason you come there in the first place, I don't know. I might be gone. Siggy stated what? I don't know. Oh, there you go. Siggy told reporters January 17th, we'll see what happens here with Alberto. I think he's got a good future. I like him a lot. We'll see what the future holds. Well, he didn't commit to him, and Alberto's gone. So if I thought he was going to be as good as Fernando, wouldn't I keep him around? Just by watching Alberta's. Oh, did he change? That's the other thing. He could have. Never mind. Hopefully he didn't go through any transformation while we weren't looking. Composure when filling in. When was he filling in? He's like his brother, though. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying he's not tough. I'm not saying he's not anything. I'm telling you, I don't know. I'll take your word for it. Plus, just heard positive about him. I have a feeling Alberto's special. Okay. He's got to make up his mind whether he's Alberto or Alberto, though. That's all. He might be really good. I don't know. The other thing is with with Moore pulling out of the draft, we're left with Mendoza and a host of not good prospects. This NFL draft is going to be. I'm going to tell you, if you're taking if you're taking a quarterback at the top of this draft, you're losing your mind. If you take anybody in the first round besides Mendoza, quite frankly, I wouldn't be putting my future in Mendoza anyway. I'd take him later. And again, I've said forever. I mean, the numbers show out. Again, I'll put this out there again. Since 1967, the beginning of the common draft, first-round draft picks, quarterbacks picked in the first round of the NFL draft, that's 50 years almost, guys. I'm sorry, 60 years almost. That's my Perth education. 60 years almost. 8% of those quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl. And only like 11% of them have gone to a Super Bowl. And some of those guys didn't do it with the original team that drafted them. And that doesn't mean that first-round picks don't get to the Super Bowl. We know they do. The majority of guys are first-round picks. But there's so many guys that have to get picked to find one guy. I mean, it's like playing the lottery. We talked about the other day. I'm not doing it. The numbers are stacked too far against me. I looked the other day. Since the guys drafted in the first round since 2000, the last 25 years. And again, I guess we got to discount a couple of those years because those guys haven't had time to mature. And the numbers may change this year because we got two guys drafted in the first round who might get there and win it. And Darnold and May, they could be first-time winners. But 4 quarterbacks drafted since 2000 have won a Super Bowl. 4 drafted in the first round have won a Super Bowl. I mean, tell me whether that's smart. Do I have this? That's the same thing. So again, Mendoza's going to be the first pick in the draft. I didn't see a lot Monday night that told me he will be great on the next level. Does not take away anything he did on the college level. Great college quarterback. He was great at Cal. I watched him play against Miami late at night on a Saturday night until about 2 o'clock in the morning, I think. A great game. Miami had to come back and win. Mendoza was fabulous. And he won the Heisman Trophy, obviously, this year. He's a great, great college player. We'll see if that translates to the next level. Any other big news on the, and again, Darren Mensah, I do believe that's the biggest news right now as far as off the field. Well, we have a little playoff news too. It looks like, before I go to Darren Mensah or transition into basketball, you guys want to start talking basketball? We'll start talking basketball now. This show won't air again after today for 2 weeks as we'll be away. I will be doing the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, and I'll try to get on the Sunday morning show with the big football show. We'll put a couple of shows in the can for Jack and Keith's weekend playbook. We've already done 2 that'll air probably on the 30th and the Monday following. Then Friday before the Super Bowl, Jack and I will have a Super Bowl show that we're going to do on Monday, Super Bowl memories and whatnot. When I get back, we'll start diving headfirst into college basketball and looking at, who the contenders and the pretenders are there. But we can get into a little bit of basketball tonight. Some of the big news, the Big Ten and the the SEC are really at odds about where to go with the college football playoff. And we know that these are the guys that hold all the chips, right? They're going to direct where this goes. Hey, John Gonzalez is out there. How are you, John? But they're at odds of what they want. I mean, I think you're going to see 12 teams again next year. You're not going to see any change. I really believe that right now because they are at a stalemate of what they want to do. Big Ten would like to jump right to 24 teams. And the problem with that is they're going to get a guarantee of 4 or 5 teams of automatic bids for each of the SEC and the Big Ten. I believe it was like 4 for them, 4 for the SEC. This was the last plan that I heard about. It could have changed. 4 for the Big Ten, 4 for the SEC, 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12, and 1 for the Group of 6, formerly the Group of 5. Now, I don't care what number we go to. I don't want to see 4 teams being guaranteed spots from any conference. Most years that'd be fine, right? But there's going to be years where, what's going to happen when Iowa, is the 4th best team in the Big Ten, and they're just a middling team. They aren't even in the top 25. Not every year are you going to have all 4 of your teams in the top 24. Now, a lot of years you will. But what about that one year where a really mediocre team is getting in because of that? I don't know. The SEC, on the other hand, I believe is advocating to go to 16 teams and keeping it where it is now with automatic bids going to the power conferences and the power conferences only. Flores is back with the Vikings. Rick is breaking news on the NFL level. Good for them. By the way, while we're talking about college NFL coaches, Jeff Hafley gets the job in Miami, the head job in Miami, and congratulations to him. And again, most of you won't care about this, but those of you who are in my local area may or may not know that Jeff Hafley has some big ties here to the Capital District. Played football for Siena, not at a high level, obviously. Division III football, I believe, or Division II. Not sure where Siena is, but it's not even at FCS level. But he did play football here in the region, and he was also an assistant coach for 3 or 4 years here at UAlbany. So congratulations to Jeff Hafley on getting the Miami job. We'll see how that works out for him. So I feel it's run out of steam a little bit on college football because I think we've ran our course. In college basketball, the big news there has been Bill Self being out for Kansas, back in the hospital. Bill Self had some health issues here a couple of years back. Spent a couple nights in the hospital. He's still away from KU right now. They've managed to win, I think, two games. They got by Colorado 75-69 the other night with Jack Vaughn serving as the interim coach. But he's supposedly it's not a serious situation, and he is feeling much better, and hopefully that he is. The other kind of big news off the court was where is it? Mitch Cronin, the UCLA coach, bashing the Big Ten about the scheduling. 5 of their first 7 league games were on the road. The Bruins came into the Purdue game on 2 days rest after playing Ohio State. While the Boilermakers had been in Los Angeles last week, having played USC on Saturday. He said, I want to thank the Big Ten for giving us 5 of our first 7 games on the road. And don't talk about how far you got to travel, Mitch, when your program, your university was willing to put yourself in the Big Ten so that you could stretch the conference from ocean to ocean. So please don't give me any of your nonsense. So you're going to get these wacky schedules where you're going to do a lot of traveling. UCLA's 13-6 right now, 5-3 in the Big Ten. And, look, this was a bad fit all the time. Blowing up the Pac-12 so the Big Ten could absorb Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC was just nonsensical. We don't need leagues that stretch sea to shining sea. Sea to shining sea. Try to say that 10 times fast. But I regress. Looking at the top 25, where am I here? I am fired up with momentum tonight, man. You know, these coaches come in and they aren't necessarily the ones campaigning for these giant freaking conferences in the SEC and the Big Ten, even the Big 12. Stretches from, Arizona to West Virginia. But if you're going to just sign on to say, okay, we want to play in the Big Ten, and then you're going to bitch and moan about the travel, what do you think was going to happen, Mitch? God. Top 25 rankings right now. Arizona now has all 661 first place votes in the AP poll as they sit at a sweet 18-0, playing really good basketball. UConn's moved back up to number 2 at 18-1. Michigan up to 3. All these teams have jumped a spot. Purdue, Duke finish out the top 5. Houston, Nebraska, and Gonzaga all up a spot through number 8. Iowa State, which has dropped a couple games in a row, dropped from 2 to 7. 2 to 9. They dropped 7 places. Michigan State rounds out the top 10, playing really good basketball right now. And by the way, Tom Izzo had a some blistering comments about the fact that professional players, guys drafted by the NBA, are now being recruited back to college because they have eligibility left. Where's this all going to end? The second part of the top 25, Illinois, Texas Tech, BYU, Virginia, and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt falls 5 places after reaching the top 10 for the first time in their history. They round out the top 15. Florida, Alabama, Clemson, Kansas playing better basketball these last couple of weeks, even with Bill Self missing some games. And Arkansas round out the top 20. Georgia. We don't often see Georgia in the top 25 these days. They're at number 21. North Carolina has fallen 8 places to 22, 14-4 under Hubert Davis. Louisville stumbling a bit too, down to 13-5. They've fallen to 23. St. Louis and Miami of Ohio at 19-0 jumps into the top 25. Maybe the best of the group of 5 teams, the mid-majors, if you will. Dropped out of the rankings, another good mid-major in Utah State, Tennessee, and Seton Hall. St. John's just on the outside of this top 25, playing better basketball under Rick Pitino the last few weeks. We'll see how that goes. Purdue will be dropping with a loss, obviously. Good point. Danny, Jack called, there is no momentum. Sorry, we got to call momentum off, Danny. There is a real thing called momentum. Jack is funny because, and I say this a bunch of times, he talks about momentum all the time. He describes it to a T. I mean, if you looked up momentum in the dictionary, Jack says all the words, just won't use the word. The word. Shocking. Just looking quickly at the conferences. Where am I here? I know you're here somewhere. We'll look at the major conferences for now, and we'll touch quickly maybe on some of the Americans East, because we've got a couple of teams that are of interest here locally. Albany is 3-1 in the American East, half game out of first place. New Jersey IT is in first place there. The American Conference, Florida Atlantic leads there. Memphis is second. Not a bad conference, really, when you look at it. You got Tulane in there. You got Tulsa in there. South Florida has had good clubs. Temple's had good clubs. Wichita State. Sunbelt Queens University Royals are in first. Where the hell is that? The A10, the surprising George Mason Patriots. 18-1 overall, 6-0 in the conference. Speaking of James Mason, James Mason. Great actor. Love James Mason in North by Northwest. And The Verdict. Great in The Verdict. But George Mason, Jim Larangara, who coached George Mason to the Final Four, if you remember, back in, God, I want to say 2004, became the coach of the U. He got a banner hung the other night for his contributions to the U, including getting them to the Final Four just a few years back. Anyway, George Mason sits atop of the A10, very underrated conference, by the way. St. Louis, who's sitting at number 24 in the, I would say that's got to be the ESPN rankings, is also 6-0 in conference and 18-1, playing really good basketball. They've got a little bit of a distraction with the gambling probes that's going on and the arrests that were made. St. Louis was one of the teams that was involved in that probe. We'll see how that works out. But Dayton sits there at 5-0, 14-4. VCU, very underrated program, sits in fourth place. At the ACC, Duke sits atop the league at 17-1, 6-0 in the conference. Clemson always seems to be up near the top of this conference in January. Let's see where they are in March. Clemson sits at 6-1, 16-4 overall. Virginia, we know they're ranked in the top 15, 5-1, 16-2. Miami, bouncing back after a couple of really bad years. And as I said, retiring or giving a number for or a banner to Jim Larangara. They said at 4-2, said 15-4 overall. Good job. Syracuse Orange, for those local, playing a little bit better. Adrian Autry's starting to get some chatter that things have got to improve, but they're playing a little better. They're 12-6 or 13-2 or 3-2 in the conference. We'll see how that works out. The big disappointments there have got to be Notre Dame sitting at 1-4 in conference, 10-8 overall, and Carolina 2-3 in the league. Hubert Davis every year seems to come under some scrutiny now. In the Big 12, probably the best conference in college basketball is the Big 12. Arizona sits atop it along with Houston at 5-0, both of them, 18-0 and 17-1 respectfully. Texas Tech, always solid club, 5-1, 15-4. BYU surprising a bit, 4-1, 16-2 overall. Kansas starting to play a little bit better since they beat Iowa State a couple of weeks ago. 4-2 at 14-5, and Iowa State at 4-2 as well, 17-5. The big disappointment here has got to be Baylor at 1-5, 11-7 overall, and Arizona State. I would think Mr. Hurley's going to have some problems there. The Big East, we know UConn's playing well, 18-1 overall, 8-0 conference. St. John's has struggled out of conference a little bit, but they're 7-1 in conference. 14-5 overall, getting ready to move back into that top 25. At Villanova, sits at, with new coach Kevin Willard, sits at 5-2 at 14-4 overall. Big disappointment in this league's got to be Georgetown. Ed Cooley's going to be feeling the heat there. 9-9 overall, 1-6 in conference. Things are not getting any better at Georgetown. Big Sky, Portland State's the leader there. Montana State right behind them. Big South, Winthrop is in first place, tied with High Point actually, and Radford. Pretty good basketball being played in the Big South, by the way. The Big Ten, Nebraska. I think this is the second best conference in the league, by the way. Nebraska, the shocker here, 18-0. 7-0 in conference. Michigan also a bit of a surprise, although they've slipped a little bit lately. They have won 3 in a row, but they did slip up and lose and almost lose to Penn State here a week or so ago. Michigan and Michigan State battling it out, 7-1. Each of them produced 7-1, just coming off a loss, so as Jenny kind of pointed out before. Illinois sits at 6-1, 15-3 overall. Very deep conference. You could be looking at 10 teams from this conference getting to the NCAA tournament. In the Big West, Hawaii, surprisingly in first place, 5-2, 13-4 overall. Coastal Athletic, UNC Wilmington, followed by Charleston. Conference USA's Liberty undefeated and 15-3 overall. Horizon League, Wright State leads, followed closely by Oakland. Oakland's done some damage in the tournament before. In the Ivy, the Dartmouth Big Green are at 3-1, tied with Yale and Harvard at 3-1. It can be a close battle there. They do play a conference tournament there now, don't forget. In the Metro Atlantic, Siena was off to a really good start. They are 6-3 in conference. They do trail St. Peter's, Merrimack, Quinnipiac, and Marist right now. They're tied with Quinnipiac and Marist. But Siena got off to a really good start under Jerry McNamara. Come up some harder times. 2 in a row now they've won, but they've struggled a little bit the last few weeks. But they are 6-3 in conference. Could be a team to watch come conference tournament time. Mid-American Conference, again, Miami, 20-0 now, 8-0 in conference. Maybe the best team in the mid-major arena. Mid-Eastern Atlantic, Maryland Eastern Shore, 4-0. Missouri Valley and Murray State leads there. Belmont is 2 games behind them. Mountain West, San Diego State is 7-0, 13-4. They continue to play good basketball out here. And this is really an underrated conference. I don't think it's as deep as it's been the last few years, as a couple of teams that were good, like Colorado State and Boise State, have fallen off the chart a little bit this year, but still pretty strong at the top with San Diego State, Utah State, and Nevada, all playing really good basketball. Northeast Conference is Long Island in first place, and Central Connecticut right behind them. Ohio Valley is UT Martin. Patriot League, Navy leads, tied with Colgate there, and American is a game behind them. The Southeastern Conference is going to get more bids than it deserves, because it does every single year. But they've got Florida leading right now at 5-1. Behind them closely is Texas A&M, unranked, 4-1, 14-4. Georgia ranked for the first time in quite a while, 4-2, 16-3. Arkansas, Alabama, and Kentucky all kind of trailing back there at 3-2. The Southern Conference, East Tennessee State, 5-1, followed by Furman. Southland Conference is Stephen F. Austin, 9-1, followed by McNeese. Bethune-Cookman, 4-1, leading the Southwestern Athletic Conference is SWAC. Jackson State, Bethune, and Florida A&M all tied at 4-1 in the league. And the Summit, North Dakota State leads there. They're undefeated. Sunbelt, Troy, and Georgia. Troy's got a 6-1 record, followed by Georgia Southern. West Coast Conference, Gonzaga. Gonzaga's back, guys. Gonzaga just won't go away. We think that their program is starting to slide. Last year, they struggled a little bit more than they normally would, but they're back to 19-1, 7-0 in conference. Santa Clara's 7-1. St. Mary's really good at 6-1, 17-3. You might see 3 bids come out of this conference this year. Santa Clara is pretty good. And the Western Athletic Conference, Utah Valley is 5-1. So some good stuff going on in basketball. And we'll talk more about that as we go on through the coming weeks. So we covered a lot of stuff in college football. We covered the big news and got through the standings. Let me see if the bracketology, you can hear my voice. I'm still struggling a little bit, but we're getting better. I mean, we've already got bracketology with teams on the bubble, but it seems too soon to really get into that. When I get back in 2 weeks, so we won't have a college sports huddle now until the second week in February. I think it's the second week in February. But when we get back, we'll be starting to dive into bracketology and looking at teams that are on the bubble and what teams and what conferences are really weighing in. I mean, right now you look at Lenardi, he's got 10 in from the SEC. I said they're the Big 12 is the best conference in basketball. I don't think there's any question. He's got them with 7 bids. He's got the SEC with 10. Big Ten with 9 and the ACC with 8. I wonder if that would include Syracuse. Can't have Syracuse in, can he? I guess he could. But we'll see how that plays out. Oh, God. So anyway, vacation is coming, so we'll be off for the next couple of Wednesdays. We will be live Friday with Jack and Keith's weekend playbook. We're going to recap the national championship game. We'll talk about the upcoming conference championship games, the latest in baseball news. I'll be on with the MLB update for the last time before vacation on Friday at 3 o'clock. We'll be live every Sunday, assuming we can get a good signal. This Sunday will be the last in the studio, and we'll be on the high seas, hopefully with a better signal than we had the last time, the next couple of Sundays. And we will forego the other shows until we get back. Vegas college sports fans starting to gravitate more to basketball. Well, I mean, they've got a team there in Nevada, Las Vegas. Where do they stand right now? I just had the Mountain West up. Where were they? Oops. Trying to avoid a little problem here. Nevada, Las Vegas right now is 5-2 in the league, 10-8 overall. Listen, Vegas basketball was bigger when Jerry Tarkanian was there, and it hasn't been big since, quite frankly. Austin P. Where is APU? Oh, what is it? You know what? I don't even know where the hell they play, Rick. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. Left. Let me put in P. Where are they? There they are, Austin P. Austin P is actually tied for first in the Atlantic Sun Conference. 5-1, 11-6 overall. So they're a game behind Queen's University in the ASUN. Good question. So Austin P still in a position to grab an NCAA bid. So we'll see how that works out. If you guys have anything else you want to cover, I'm happy to do it. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up for tonight's show. Again, we'll be concentrating more on college basketball for the next few months. We'll still have some college football news, obviously, as the portal is wide open. We got to figure out what happens with this Darian Mensah situation with Duke and most likely Miami, the team that he's headed to in the portal. I think you can make it a done deal that he ends up quarterbacking Miami next year, but that's just me. We'll be getting to some college baseball as we head towards the spring, and there'll certainly be football news every single week because the football season doesn't go away. They're making it like the NFL. And we'll talk about the draft because these kids are still in college. So to me, the NFL draft is still part of the college football scene until that's done and gone. So in any event, guys, we're going to wrap it up with that. I appreciate everybody popping in today, guys who have been here. Vinny, didn't see Vinny say hi, but we see you like the show, so we'll give Vinny a quick shout out. You guys, it's been a great season, a great college football season. We'll pivot into basketball now, but the excitement doesn't go away, and we try to keep you guys informed and give you guys your opinions and a place to debate them right here every week. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talks College Sports Huddle. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye. You did what you could, you.